All right, so today we want to do a quick review about scientific notation. I want you to remember it's just a term. Forget that you have to move right or left and you go positive, negative. Stop looking at scientific notation that way. It is just order of operations. These are simply multiplication problems. It is a single term. And if we look at these as a single term, let's start with one that really doesn't play well, 0.00201. And I always get, you guys are guessing whether it's positive 3 or negative 3. Don't think about it. Treat it like a term. Remember, we can always put it over 1. 0.00201 over 1. It's one term. All right, well, we can do equivalency. We can multiply top and bottom. Because you know you want 2.01. You realize that. So you got to multiply by 10 3 times on the top to make 2.01. You got to multiply the bottom by 10 3 times to keep it equivalent. Now I have one term that's 2.01 over 10 to the third. One term. So can we move it up? You bet. Rules of exponents. And it's 2.01 times 10 to the negative third. And remember, you can take your calculator and make sure those are the same value. These are problems you should never miss, or at the very least be able to write me a note. Something's wrong. You should not get a mistake on this. So we're going to cruise. We're going to do the quadrants today, all right? And we're going to work quadrant 1 and 4, the positive x quadrant here. We're going to work these, and then we're going to go over and work quadrant 2 and 3. We'll work this one down here. 30,000. And again, realizing that you can write this out as 3 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. Because on your calculator, in your head, you know those two values are the same. And now it's just, when you multiply 10 4 times, and we'll go to the fourth quadrant for the answer, 3 times 10 to the fourth. That is there. When we look at this one, we have to realize we're not multiplying by 10 to make a decimal. So I will go through again. 0.004 over 1. How do I get 0.004 into 4 thousandths? How do I get that into 4? I'm going to need 3 tenths. Right now I'm going to write them out on the top. But very quickly you should realize that we can put 3 on the bottom. And this becomes what? 4 over 10 to the third. And you get to move it up. Rules of exponents. Again, guys, these are just a single term. Scientific notation is not special. Alright? Now, you got to practice these. But listen, try to avoid counting spots. Because again, it's somewhat hard. If you count to the right, you think it should be positive. If you think about it as a term, we're going to have better success. When we mix it up, we'll skip this tab today. This is still one term. You just have 2 parts going on. You have 0.1 times 10 to the negative fourth. Well, let's make scientific just out of the 0.1. So again, we should realize that we're going to multiply this by 10 over 10. 1/10 times 10 to the negative 4. This is one term. So we can move the 10 up. And I get 10 to the negative 1. Rules of exponent, we can do the product rule. 1 times 10 to the negative fifth. Finally, these are the ones that seem to be screwing us up at the moment. 3 thousandths times 10 11th. You know, maybe in science class this is the size of a particle and the quantity of them. I have no idea. But we're going to, again, start by saying we got to get this to be 3. I got to multiply by 3 tenths. I have to divide that term by 3 tenths. One term. 3 over 10 to the third times 10 to the 11th. Move it up. Becomes 10 to the negative third. You can move it up because it's one term. Remember, you can't move these up in sums or differences, only when it's a single term. And we end up with 3 times 10 to the 8th. I'm going to assign you some con. Alright? But the main thing, guys, today, not about speed. Alright? It's about equivalency. Try to remember it's a single term. And again, remember, a day without math is like a day without sunshine.